Alright, y'all. We're going to do a lettuce hem on this little cardigan. I'm going to do it on the sleeves and the bottom hem, the bottom edge. So changing colors. There's a few other things you need to do to your machine to get it ready for a lettuce hem. It's a narrow rolled hem. So if you don't have this machine, you need to look up the settings for a narrow rolled hem is what you want. It's one needle. You want all the way to the right. It helps if you have a fluffier thread, like a woolly nylon. It just covers a little bit more than a standard thread because it is fluffier, for lack of a better word. You want that in your upper looper. So this green one. Make sure you floss it back and forth between your tension disc. Just going to follow the green line. 5, 6 to that green dot. 7 is green. And then here's that last one, number 8, what you see right here. You would think the fluffy thread would be super hard to get through the needle, but I actually do not find it super hard to get through the little hole ever. I'm going to use normal thread and my lower looper. Now I'm following the blue lines and dots. You gotta take this guy out for the blue one. If you need a better explanation of threading this machine, there are a million videos on this machine, which is why I highly recommend it for beginners. This is the Brother 1034. It's a good entry-level price. It's very easy to thread, but most of all, it's the most common one for beginners, and so there are blog post after blog post and video after video sharing tips and tricks and how-tos on this machine. So I think that is really the reason why this is the best beginner machine. Because if there's something you need help with, like threading or what settings to use for what fabric, narrow rolled hem like I'm doing here, you can find a lot of different examples of what people use and do for this machine. So if you find one video and the settings aren't working for you, like this one, if the settings aren't working for you that work for me, you can find several other. So nothing in here. I have this one set up 4, 5 or 6, and then 7. Okay. And then on the side here, what I have is I have it very narrow. Let's see if I can get that a little bit better. There we go. Very narrow all the way down. I have this one on R, so all the way down. This one on R, all the way down. I have my knife off. That is just, you know, if you're trimming some off, put your knife on. If you aren't, put it off. It doesn't make a difference on the narrow rolled hem. I usually don't like to cut any off because it's just easier for me to do a nice clean prep like this, cutting anything off that I want prior. The serger tail, and then I can just smooth sail through it. But if you like the knife on, if you want it to cut off your serger tails and things, it's no big deal. Will not change anything. I think it's easier to stretch it through without worrying about accidentally trimming anything off. Okay. See, I think I have a couple more serger tails to... There we go. Okay, I'm going to do the sleeve first. It's in the round. I'm probably only going to do one sleeve for the video since it's the exact same thing. I'll do one sleeve since it's in the round, and then I'll do the bottom since it is not, and show you how I do that. I'm going to back up a little bit. See the whole machine. Okay. Okay, for the sleeve, I'm just gonna sneak it under there, drop my foot, drop my needle. Always drop my needle before I take off on any machine. I just like to know exactly where it's gonna start. And when I take off right away, especially on a serger or cover stitch where they're a little bit faster, I know nothing's gonna move. It's gonna start right where I want it. Before I start, I'm going to stretch the back and the front. Whoop, as much as you can. The stretchier the fabric, the more pronounced the ruffly wave will be. I like it super ruffly and wavy, so I'm going to stretch this to its max. Okay, so I'm going to stretch, not only am I going to stretch the front, but I'm going to stretch the back evenly so that it can still feed through the machine naturally. If you only stretch the front, it's not going to want to feed through. So you want to grab both ends and stretch them evenly. Again, I'm going to stretch it to the max because I want mine as ruffly and wavy as possible. Just going to trim off these very beginning threads. If you don't want it super ruffly, you don't want to stretch it as much. The more you stretch, the more ruffly and wavy it will be. I say if you're going for the lettuce hem, stretch it out. Make it super purposeful. Okay, when we get around to the end, I'm just going to overlap a tiny bit. This is another reason why I personally like the knife off. I don't want to accidentally cut any of these threads as I'm overlapping it. Once I've overlapped it a little bit, I'm going to shoot off as quickly as I can. And then just trim off. Okay, so I'll shake it out so you can kind of see that lettucey hem. There you go. And this, even if you press it, it's never going to be flat again. It will always be that little ruffly look. All right, I'm not going to do the other sleeve because it's the exact same thing. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do something that is not in the round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the opposite way. And what I do is I go to the very end and I'm just going to do this very end and then I'm going to flip it around to go the other way. This kind of locks in the stitches. You want to be nice and precise when you flip it around. I'm also going to pull this tail and trim it off because I don't want that in there being bulky. And now I'm going to go ahead and stretch. The second that I can get my fingers to pull the back, I'm going to go ahead and stretch. If your fabric is curling really bad, it is rather difficult. This fabric doesn't curl when you stretch, which makes it much, much easier. If your fabric's curling really bad, it might be something you want to test out before committing to doing a lettuce hem on that fabric. Because when you stretch it, if it curls up really bad, it's going to be really hard to get a nice, even finish right there. Remember too that when you do a lettuce hem, it's going to loosen that area. So this is a little crop top. It should be kind of snug at the waist finished, but since I'm doing a lettuce hem on the bottom and I'm stretching and pulling it, that waistline is not going to be as snug as the original pattern would have been because I'm stretching it and pulling it out. It's going to kind of float away from the body now instead of being snug to the body. Which is part of the look of the lettuce hem, but just giving a little warning in case that's not what you want. Same on the sleeves we just did. I forgot to trim this little part right here. I'm going to try to sneak it in and trim it off before it's there forever. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this. I'm going to do it all the way through. When I can't stretch it anymore, you go to the end. I'm going to hand crank it so it's nice and precise right on the edge. Then I'm going to flip it around. I'm just going to go back over it to lock that stitch in. Pull off nice and quick. There we go. And there's that cute little lettuce hem. You can see I need to trim that a little bit better where I pulled off. Boop. There we go. But that way we don't have an edge right here from where we came off. I turned around and went back. And it's not lettucey right here because I couldn't pull it through from both sides. But that's pretty good for a cardigan because you have interfacing right there anyways, and it's not going to really stretch on that last little part anyways. So it'll be nice and flat in that center part for you. But there you go. There's a lettuce hem for you. Again, that fluffier woolly nylon helps kind of fill it in and makes it look nice and full on the front side. I hope you like it. It's super trendy right now, and it's a really easy finish to do with your serger. Don't forget to share if you tried this. Tag me so I can see.